look, we all know that we don't want to follow what society tells us. We don't want to follow what the mainstream is telling us. And we really don't want to follow what the mass population is doing because, no offense, not to say that you're better than anyone, but we all know that society works against fit and lean people. And it sounds backwards, and this is not how it should be, but it is what it is. This is Tarek Talks. Thank you guys for joining me. If you want one-on-one coaching from me, click the link in the description. Now, we all know that society does not celebrate strong men, especially men. It does not celebrate strong men. It celebrates strong women, which, hey, look, that's fine and dandy. But to be honest, if you take the word strength and you really think about it, that's really more of an attribute to men. No offense to my ladies out there. Y'all are wonderful. And I commend, a lot of ladies out there because they're doing their thing. I'm not one of these red pill channels that are going to talk down on women because I love the ladies in my life. Okay. But when you think of strength, when you think of physical prowess, when you think of taking charge, when you think of doing shit head on, you think of men. But nowadays, if you associate strength with men, it's going to be some sort of negative connotation. Of course, obviously, we hear that whole toxic masculinity bullshit, right? But to be honest with you, that is nothing that is of your concern. You should not be concerned with that. And as a matter of fact, you should take that fact that society looks down on strong men and fit and lean men and use it to your advantage and be like, you know what? I'm going to go against the grain. I'm not going to be like the sheeple, the people that are in the populace, the main populace, how the average guy thinks. If you take a look around at what the average guy is doing, you do not want to be part of that populace. You don't want to be part of that crowd, right? You don't want to be part of the average person, of the average guy. You're going to land yourself in extreme mediocrity, and you're going to land yourself in extreme bitterness, disappointment, and just overall poor health, right? The mass population, it has a huge health problem. These big pharma companies love how society goes against health, right? They love that shit because why else would, the big pharma companies are in cahoots with the damn government. Because the thing about it is, not to sound like a tinfoil wearing conspiracy theorist, but the government does not want men to be in shape. They don't want men to be lean. They don't want them to be strong. They don't want them to think of themselves as having strength. We always hear strong woman. We never hear strong man, right? We don't hear that too much nowadays. And that's by design. The powers that be, the elite, whatever you want to call it, they do not benefit from men being strong because guess what? Strong men equal a very defiant and free thinking society. That's why when you think of these ancient civilizations, when you think of the Greeks, when you think of the Romans, when you think of ancient Egyptians, when you don't think of a fat Egyptian sitting eating freaking a whole bunch of bread and olive oil or whatever the hell they were eating back in the day, freaking cake, mummy cakes, whatever the fuck. You guys know what I'm trying to say. You don't think of a big Egyptian. You think of somebody that is leaner, somebody that's stronger. When you think of Greeks, obviously the Spartans, ancient Romans, barbarians. When you think of Zulu warriors, all of these men of long ago tribes, long ago dynasties, long ago generations and traditions of men, they were all strong. And guess what? When you think of Mayans, right? You think of those Spartans, like I said, you think of strong men, you think of warriors. They were all in shape. And that's another thing that's synonymous with warriors is being in shape. Guess what? The government and society has no real incentive for men to be strong because if most men were in shape, right? Obviously, this is going to make them physically fit and it's going to make them mentally fit as well because it takes discipline to be fit. So now all of these guys are free thinkers. They're not going to listen to what the hell the mainstream society is saying. The main reason why a lot of guys bend down to one knee to society a lot of times is because they're out of shape, docile, addicted to video games, addicted to junk food, and quite frankly, addicted to comfort. That's the main thing that comes with being out of shape is comfort. And comfort does not make you grow. It doesn't make you grow mentally, physically, or emotionally. It keeps you stunted. So the elites or the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but the powers that be in general want men to be in a childlike, comforted state where they never face any hardships. And when I say hardships, I don't mean climbing up mountains in negative sub-zero weather and crap like that. I'm not taking it to that extreme. I'm talking about something as simple as being in shape and taking care of your health. They don't want that. They have no incentive for wanting men to be like that because it's going to be a harder society to control. If you look at those patriarchal civilizations way back in the day, they were patriarchal, like I said, the name itself, because they had that strong leadership role, right? And all of them were in shape. As a matter of fact, if you were out of shape back then, if it was even possible, because with the food sources, it was really hard to be out of shape back in those days. Let's just face it. A lot of those guys face famines. A lot of them face food shortages, and they didn't have DoorDash. They didn't have DoorDash to order ice cream and cookies from. Okay, they didn't have DoorDash to order a whole plate of fucking nachos. So food was not that accessible. So they had to pick wisely. They had to pick calorie or nutrient dense foods that were also healthy because they knew the impact. They knew the impact of eating healthy. And back in those days, if you were overweight, you were probably ostracized. You were probably shunned and you were probably shamed. Now, I'm not for bullying because I've been bullied before and that shit sucks. But I think at some point in a man's life, he needs to kind of be bullied, right? In a more positive way, okay? In a more constructive, tough love type of way. I completely and absolutely believe that men should be given that tough love, that harsh criticism, because that's what we're missing nowadays. And society doesn't want teachers, for example, or parents to kind of give their sons that tough love. They want that kind of soft, more feminine type of treatment for men. And that just doesn't work for young boys, right? So, society loves when these young boys grow up and they're super soft, super out of shape, because guess what? Everybody on the top wins. Big Pharma wins because now they can sell these guys Ozempic. The government wins because now we have a whole generation of slow, docile, and fat boys that really don't care to face some sort of hardship or don't care to even do something as simple as hit the gym and feel a little bit of muscle pain. Now they want that comfort, and that comfort is given by the government, right? The government is handing all of this comfort in order to keep them sedated. And we all know, as soon as a man starts speaking his mind and goes against what the general consensus is, or what the population or what the mass media is saying, he is going to get canceled. I mean, you have freaking a threat of losing your career if you are a man that's speaking for yourself. If you say something that is going against this whole soft ass narrative, and society really wants that. That's the whole plan. It's a bigger scheme. It's really ingenious. And a lot of people might just be like, dang, Tarek, you're taking this so damn far. You went from talking about out of shape men to a big conspiracy theory. Yes, it all makes sense. It's by design. Like I said, even a couple of decades earlier, if you look at old footage from the 60s, you would barely, 70s, you would barely see overweight people. You would see one or two, obviously, because, hey, America is the land of decadence. But you would not see that much. All the guys in there were in shape and they were masculine. Hell, I would go as far as to say being in shape and masculinity go hand in hand. Now, I know what someone is saying, oh man, I met a lot of guys that are out of shape and they are more masculine than guys in shape. Yes, that might be a thing. But being in shape should be something that is done regardless, right? That should be something that is off rip, that is a non-negotiable. It's not like, oh, yeah, being in shape doesn't even matter because you could be masculine without. Yeah, you can, but it's not going to have the same effect. And plus, like I said, if Lord forbid something happens and you have to be physical, you got to jump into physical action. If you can't even go up a flight of damn stairs, what good is it going to be, right? If you can't even run fast enough to get your kid or run fast enough to avoid danger, run fast enough to get away from danger, you and your family, then that is going to be a big hit. And the first thing that someone is going to say is, well, damn, if he was a little more in shape, maybe he could have gotten out the way a little faster, right? Maybe he could have jumped into action a little quicker. But since he's so damn overweight, he couldn't have. And you guys don't want to fall in line with what the sheep are doing. We all know the greatest men out there are people that are different, are people that are not the same. So if somebody starts talking down on you for weighing out your food, measuring your macros, being in shape, hitting the gym, look at how they look. 9 times, 10, 11 times out of 10, they're not somebody that you want to look like. They're not somebody that you want to follow in their footsteps. And they're just following what the mass is doing. You know, the average guy is going to tell you having a dad bod when you get married is completely fine. It's happy weight. Why does being obese? There's nothing happy about being obese. There's nothing positive. There's nothing cute about that. A lot of guys think it's fucking cute. Girls don't find that cute. Yeah, they might say, oh yeah, he has the dad bod and happy weight, just to kind of go, like I said, because females are the ones that really go with the flow and go with the current trends. Men aren't supposed to do that. So they're going to say bullshit like happy weight. You being overweight is not going to make you happy. That being said, I'm out. Peace.